Okay, so recently I came across, thanks to a viewer, a really great deal on a ProDesk 600 G1 Mini, and I couldn't pass it up. It was $15 for a unit that had 8 gig of memory, had the Wi-Fi, the antenna. All it needed was a CPU, and I was able to get a CPU for it for $5. So a $20, build for a ProDesk was pretty good. So I thought I would kind of go over it, show some of the specs on it, and kind of give a little bit also a visual comparison with the EliteDesk 800 G1 Mini, and just to see how similar the two are. So if we look on the front, move this up a little. Okay, if we look on the front, we've got the two USB, we've got the headphone jacks. Of course, this is a G1, so it does not have USB-C. Top, nothing too exciting other than the i5 little logo there. Flip it upside down. We've got information, serial number. This came with a 3-year warranty. It's got it spelled out as far as the HP ProDesk 600 G1, DM business PC, not the Mini. That came with the G2. 19.5 volts, 3.33 amps, which is standard for all of the, uses the same power adapter as you're going to see in all your other generations. Oh, came with a Windows Pro 8 license. On the back, we've got 2 display ports, VGA, looks like probably sound maybe in or out. I guess that's out. Another 4 USB. This is an Intel 1 gig network port. You've got for your power delivery. This is your antenna. Now, one interesting thing I found with the G1, and I thought it was just with this ProDesk, but I went back and I did some playing around with my EliteDesk, and it looks like, at least all the stuff I tried, I could not get it to boot into using one of these display ports. It looks like these were just for probably secondary, tertiary monitors, and you had to do VGA. So what I used with my HDMI, oh my goodness, HDMI monitor was one of these adapters. This goes into the ProDesk along with in one of the USB ports. This is where you would plug in your HDMI cable, and you still get was a 1080p resolution, which is pretty nice. So, but again, you need this, or you need something that where you're doing an actual VGA monitor to be able to boot this guy up. The back's got the our favorite thumb screw. This is a little beefier kind of looking size than you see in the later generations. What does this one actually? No, okay, this one, you can almost get it to take off, but okay, it opens up the same. Okay. It's got the SATA connector. This one uses more the traditional SATA connector that you would see on your normal type of motherboard. Disconnect. Put that guy back in. This can take up to 16 gig of the DDR3 1600 megahertz. Let's take off this cage. Uses our ever popular T15 bit. I like this kind of setup. I mean, granted, on the later ones, you would put the memory usually over here underneath the fan, but this is kind of nice. I don't have to remove any caddy. I mean, other than maybe move my drive out of the way to be able to update the memory. All right. Okay, move that to the side. Underneath here, we've got our Wi-Fi with our two antennas. I was able, using one of these adapters, this goes into the Wi-Fi slot, and then you can put a 2230 NVMe in here. But in order to be able to boot from it, you're going to have to modify the BIOS. I've got a video on it that talks about modifying the BIOS so that you can boot into an EliteDesk. It works exactly the same for this one. I mean, everything is identical. I literally had my video running on another monitor while I performed the steps on this ProDesk. It's got the same FDO jumper, which is right here, kind of down in between the thumb screw and the thumb screw for the heat sink. There's two jumpers. You want the one that's closest, I guess, to this audio jack here. You put a jumper on there, and then you're able to modify the BIOS. But you'll need to do that in order, if you want to boot using one of these, or they're also, you can put an M.2 underneath this guy here. Let's take this out, and I'll kind of show you what that setup looks like. I'm not a big fan with the G1s with this giant, how all this was set up. It was not really set up to be very, I don't know, user-friendly, user-modifiable like you see in the later units. It does okay, and this particular ProDesk, I think, does a better job. I think my other G1s had just had this taken off so many times that when you, this cable in particular would get kind of, right here, would get sort of caught in all this, the slot here, get all munched. Well, I guess technically over here, get caught. So here's your copper heatsink. Now, these units are all 65 watt, so they all take the T processor. But it's nice that you do get an actual copper heatsink, which you would get with the later, G2 65 watt units. But this is uses a 65 watt power supply, but it would be considered a 35 watt unit. Got your CPU. I put in an i3 4130T. That is a quad-core processor, and oh no, I take that back. A dual-core processor, but again, only cost me $5. Works great. Let's take out this fan and see. You can see if you wanted to put in an actual NVMe drive in here, you have to take the heatsink off and have to take this fan off just to be able to get to it. These are sometimes a little tight. Let's loosen it a little more. Oh, I think I'm going to have to actually take the screws all the way out. Okay, yeah. So here is your M.2 2280 slot. And again, you can use this as a secondary drive, but if you want to boot from it, you're going to have to perform the mod. Mod is very simple. I'll include a link. Just follow it. download the software, go through the steps, and it's pretty pain-free. And it doesn't take that long. And then now you have a bootable that you can either boot from here or again using the Wi-Fi and I also have videos on a little bit more about the whole Wi-Fi hard drive and what you can do with that. Okay, so let's put this back. Actually, while we have it like this, I'm going to do the same for the EliteDesk, and you can see how similar the two are. Okay, so this is the ProDesk. This is the EliteDesk. Yeah, they look, they're twins. I mean, even where the screws go in for the M.2s for the fans, even things like capacitors. These are, they're basically identical. This is just an EliteDesk. This is a ProDesk. So the ProDesk, you can put an i7 in it, an i7 4765T. That's the high end for that one. I believe that's probably the same for this too. Let's look over here. Yeah. I'm not seeing really any differences as far. This one, of course, doesn't have a Wi-Fi card or the antenna. That's why, again, this was such a great deal. So, yeah, especially if you have cases where you need, let's say you buy, you've got a G1 and EliteDesk and you need some parts, you can always scavenge from a ProDesk or vice versa to be able to mix and match. The jumpers, same location, same numbers. So yeah, you pretty much, it'd be hard pressed to really find a big difference between the two. I'm going to put this all back together. We'll boot into Windows and we'll do some checks as far as power usage, look at some stuff from Geekbench, look at thermals, and that way you can kind of assess and think about, hey, is this a unit that I would like to get to? So as I was looking at the two units, I'm thinking, okay, well, what is the difference between the ProDesk and the EliteDesk, the G1s? And I went and I looked at the hardware manual or service manual, and the only thing that I could see is that on the back, it says that the EliteDesk has 4 USB 3.0 ports, where the ProDesk only has 2 3.0 and another 2 2.0. Which is interesting because if you look at the specs, I was able to download some here. They actually have a typo. It looks like they must have just reused the info. This says 4 USB 3.0, but I looked back on my 2 units, and the EliteDesk has 4 of them that show blue, and the ProDesk only has 2 that show blue. The other thing is that the 800 touts the fact that it's got the vPro technology. But I've also seen people still do the remote connectivity with non-vPro stuff. So anyway, there's not a huge difference in terms of the CPUs and power and so forth between the two, again, other than maybe those USB ports. So let's do let's do a heavy load. Let's look at some thermals, see what we're getting. So right now we're probably about 14, 15 watts at sort of this kind of standby state or more idle state. And but let's see what do our thermals look like right now. Okay, so we're roughly around 40. Let's bring up heavy load. So yeah, we're 3840 right now. I'm going to run heavy load for 5 minutes. We'll see what kind of power draw we get and also what the temps look like. One thing I should note that, here we're in the throes of the heavy load. It's actually a pretty quiet unit. So if that's something that's, you're trying to get something that's fairly low in terms of sound, that's pretty good. Power, unfortunately, it looks like it's running around 46 watts pull as we're going through. And I'll check to see if that gets any worse as we get up to 5 minutes. But usually about this point, we kind of know, what the draw is going to be. Okay, got a little distracted putting the EliteDesk back together again. Okay, so we're looking. Oh, we hit a high of about 70. About again 46 watts on the power. Let's stop the heavy load and see what happens in terms of how quickly the thermals go back down and also the power draw. It is taking it a little bit longer maybe than some of the other ones to cool down, but the power went down to around 15, 16 watts almost instantaneous as soon as I killed the heavy load. But it is getting there. I mean, we're down now, was it 50? We'll probably be in the high 40s pretty soon here. Let me show you what we get as far as numbers for Geekbench. So here we see, this is the ProDesk 600, right? Our unit here. It's just it's pretty much neck and neck with the EliteDesk 800 G1 running with the 4590T. That 4590T, of course, because it's a quad core, its multi-core times are much higher. It was 26 versus 19. But, again, it holds its own. I mean, you only got the 2-core. You've got an i3 versus an i5. And I know that I paid a lot less for this i3 than I paid for the i5. That i3 for $5 was definitely worth it. And, does its thing. I'm pretty sure, let me check something. I'm pretty sure that's a 4-thread, not just, it may only be dual core, but I think it's 4-thread. Yeah, it's like I remember, it is 4-thread, which basically means that if you were to bring this up in Proxmox, it's going to act like it does have 4 cores that you can assign to VMs. So, it's definitely a nice unit. I mean, I can't complain as far as price and so forth. It was very clean. If I were to make a choice between the two, probably would go the EliteDesk if, if prices were similar. The ProDesks show up everywhere. Was seeing it, you see them at libraries, you see them at the doctor's office. So, they're good units. So, yeah, I don't think you'd go wrong with a ProDesk G1